Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping headfirst into the world of Tee Legion TCG. This is that really cool game mixing strategic golf with fantasy battles. Knights, dragons, relics, all out there on the course. But our mission today, our focus, is really specific. We're meeting the core figure, the card that is literally you on the board. We're talking about the Knight. And they're not just your avatar, right? They're the commander, the leader, the one holding onto your score. If you want to master Tee Legion, well, you got to understand your Knight inside and out.
Yeah, absolutely. That focus is spot on because, in a game that can get pretty chaotic, the Knight is kind of the steady hand, the anchor. They hold the whole thing together, tactically speaking. And crucially, the Knight is the card that manages the four main stats that really dictate how the entire game flows.
Okay, let's lay those out right away. I think that's fundamental to understanding anything else. What are these core stats?
Right. So the big one, the most personal one, is GP, game points. This is your score, but it's also like your health. And this is the critical part. It's tied directly to the Knight. If your GP hits 0, your Knight is cut.
Cut, meaning?
Meaning you lose instantly. Game over.
Wow, okay. So Knight defense, even if they aren't the main fighters, is actually job number one.
Exactly. It's the central strategic point. You have to protect that GP pool.
Got it. So it's a race to 0 GP, but only on their side.
Precisely. And while the Knight holds that GP, they're also kind of directing traffic for the other 3 stats, which are mainly for the dragons. You got HD, hit damage. That's, how hard things hit. Then DG, Dragon Guard. That's toughness, how much damage a unit can take. And finally, YDS, yards. This is the dragon's distance identity, and it dictates where it sits on the course in the land zone.
Okay, HEDG, YDS, mostly for dragons.
Right. And what's really interesting, the Knight doesn't really have these stats in the same way. They can't just, use HD to attack or DG to block inherently. But their commands, the relics they equip, their Legion abilities, they're constantly affecting those stats on the dragons out there.
Oh, okay.
It's like the Knight is the operating system, maybe, and the dragons are the apps running those HD, DG, and YDS programs.
That's a great way to put it. So the Knight's strength isn't their own swing, it's how they boost their whole team's swing or defense or positioning.
Yeah, exactly. And it all circles back to keeping that big GP number safe.
Okay, so let's unpack the location aspect. In games like this, where you are on the board matters a lot. Where does the Knight actually hang out, and what does that tell us?
Well, the Knight has a very specific, dedicated home base. The teeing ground.
The teeing ground, okay.
Think of like the command bunker, the headquarters.
Yeah.
The source material calls it the anchor position, the command post. That tells you a lot right there.
Anchor position. Command post. Implies stability.
Totally. The rules around the teeing ground really emphasize the Knight's main quality, permanence. They can't be destroyed, they can't be discarded, you can't swap them out. They are the one constant on your side of the board, holding onto that GP pool until it runs out.
That sounds powerful, like almost too stable. An unbreakable piece seems like a huge advantage. Is there a downside? A vulnerability?
Oh, definitely. The counterbalance is that direct threat to the GP. See, dragons, if they get hit hard, they might get sent to a hazard bunker, rough, water, whatever. It takes them out of play temporarily, mitigates immediate damage.
All right, they can kind of hide or get sidelined.
But the Knight can't hide. They're always on the teeing ground. If an opponent manages to target the Knight directly and lands a hit, that GP damage is straight to the source.
Oof, no buffer.
No buffer. It's permanent, you can't mitigate it easily, and it pushes you closer to that cut condition. So yeah, they're permanent, but they're also permanently exposed in a way. Every hit directly bleeds that core resource.
And that resource, let's talk about the number. The sources stress it's always 9,000 GP. That seems specific.
It is. 9,000 is, I think, a brilliant bit of design. It actually lines up with 900 yards in golf.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like the theoretical maximum yardage of a perfect championship course. It's not just health points. It's meant to represent the Knight's total stamina, their composure, their ability to maintain that perfect state throughout the whole duel.
So managing that 9,000 GP isn't just about staying alive. It's about managing your potential, your stamina for the whole match.
Exactly. It's a resource pool you have to manage carefully, spend it defensively, maybe take a hit to set up something, or guard it fiercely.
And the teeing ground itself, you mentioned, is only for the Knight?
Yeah, strict rules there.
Yeah.
No dragons can enter the teeing ground. No relics can just sit there either, though importantly, relics are often attached to the Knight. Their card physically sits in the relic zone, or you play them from hand, but they affect the Knight on the teeing ground.
Keeps things clear. Command here, fighters out there.
Right. It prevents any confusion about who's doing what. The knight commands from the back, the dragons engage up front.
Which leads us right into, I think, the most fascinating question about the knight. If they're this permanent commander, this anchor with 9,000 potential, why don't they actually fight? Why don't they swing the club, so to speak?
Yeah, that's the core paradox, isn't it? Why sit back? It's because their role is command center. A commander's real strength isn't usually in wading into the fight themselves. It's in directing the forces effectively. Their power is strategic influence, managing the tempo.
Okay, how does that work mechanically?
It's built into the game's timing, specifically the command step. Once per turn during your command step, the knight does one key thing. They command one ready dragon. Just one.
One specific dragon?
Yep. You pick one that's ready to go and you tell it to do one of 3 things. Strike, attack, defend, usually boost CG or sets up a block, or activate one of its specific once per turn abilities.
So the power is in the choice. Which dragon, what action?
No,
When?
exactly. It's about selectivity and timing. You're reacting to the board, deciding where to apply pressure or shore up defense. The power isn't the knight hitting for 1000 HD, it's deciding which 1000 HD dragon hits, and maybe when it hits to disrupt the opponent's plan.
But they can hit sometimes, right? There's a condition.
There is, it's the fallback. The knight only makes a personal hit, like a direct strike, if you control 0 dragons in your lance zone.
So if your whole front line is wiped out, the commander steps up.
Right, last resort.
But the sources say that hit is, well, kind of weak, like 200 to 500 GP damage usually.
Yeah.
If your board is empty and you're just plinking away for 500 GP against their 9,000, what's the real point? Isn't that just delaying the inevitable?
That's a really sharp point. And yes, it is weak by design. It reinforces that leader, not carrier idea.
Yeah.
But it's not useless. First, it stops you from being completely stuck. You can still do something. Second, it keeps the tempo moving, forces the opponent to acknowledge you, maybe buys you a turn to draw a new dragon or a game-changing relic.
Okay, maintain some pressure. But third, and this is often the real reason, it activates abilities tied to the strike keyword. If your knight is loaded up with powerful relics that say on strike or on hit, that little 200 GP poke is just the trigger.
So the damage is secondary. The knight is hitting not really to hurt the enemy knight, but to activate their own gear or spells.
Precisely. They become a conduit for their relics in that emergency situation. It fits the theme. The knight relies on strategy, gear, support systems, while the dragons handle the raw power and take the risks out front.
Okay, that makes sense. You want dragons out there doing the heavy lifting, but the knight has this backup plan that's more about activating tools than doing damage.
Exactly. You're preserving your GP while managing the chaos those dragon strikes inevitably cause when they hit hazards.
And this leadership role, this command style, it's not the same for every knight, right? This is where the legions come in and it gets really interesting. Oh yeah, choosing your knight means choosing your whole philosophy for the game. It dictates your strategy from turn 1. Let's get into the 4 main legions.
So when you pick your knight, you're basically picking your deck's core identity. How it wants to win, aggression, control, defense, it's all baked in. Let's start with the most straightforward one, the Warrior Legion.
The warriors. Sounds aggressive.
Totally. Pure aggression, pure strength. They want to hit hard, overcome obstacles with force. Their sigil tells the story. A crossed driver and sword, ready for the long drive and the close fight.
The smash mouth approach, what does that look like on the table?
Mechanically, warriors tend to have high base HD stats or abilities that grant straightforward attack boosts.
Yeah.
They often focus on GP attrition, just constantly chipping away at the opponent's 9,000 GP until it breaks.
Forcing their way through.
Yeah, force through the fairway is a good way to put it. They rely on momentum. Their colors are all about power. Battle Crimson, Steel Gray, Sunset Orange. Get it done fast.
Okay, direct. What's the opposite end of that? That would probably be the Rogue Legion. They're all about finesse, the short game. They don't win with power. They win with clever angles, misdirection, using the course itself.
The tricksters. The ones who love it when things get messy.
Exactly. Their sigil is perfect. Twin daggers, shaped like golf tees, crossing in shadow, using the literal tools of the game as weapons. Rogues love hazard zones.
How do they use hazards?
Their gameplay often involves pierce mechanics, ways to bypass a dragon's DG and hit the GP directly. Super nasty. They also mess with yardage, maybe using a relic to shrink an enemy dragon's YDS so it gets stuck in the wrong slot.
Ooh, disrupting positioning.
Yeah, playing the angles. Their
Yeah.
colors reflect that cunning. Shadow green, midnight black, venom teal.
That pierce mechanic sounds scary, ignores toughness, makes sense for rogues. Okay, who's next?
Next up, we have the Wall, the Monk Legion. These are the champions of resolve and defense. Their game is all about attrition, discipline, think slow but unbreakable.
Right. If warrior is the sprint, monk is the marathon.
Perfectly put. Their mechanics focus on high DG and a keyword called resolve. Resolve lets them ignore damage or negative effects, usually by meeting certain conditions or maybe discarding specific cards. They're always looking to heal their own GP or buff their dragon's DG.
Sustain, just outlasting the opponent.
Exactly. Their sigil is a Lotus-style green marker, very serene, balanced. Colors are Sacred Gold, Calm White, Earth Brown. They just endure. They hold the line.
Okay, power, trickery, endurance. What's the
Yes.
fourth?
The fourth is arguably the most complex. The Wizard Legion. They are all about strategy and, crucially, relic synergy. They want to control the flow of the game, manipulate the course itself.
Control through spells. Their sigil is a rune staff fused with a golf flag. Nice. How does that course control actually work?
It's all about clever manipulation using relics. Wizards run relic-heavy decks. They might have artifacts that let them do things like swap a dragon's DG for temporary HD or change its YDS to enable a specific zone ability, really messing with the fundamental stats.
Changing the stats on the fly.
Yeah, and even crazier, they use conditional lock and lock mechanics. Imagine a wizard relic that just says, for this turn, the rough hazard doesn't exist. Any shot that would land there is treated as straight.
Whoa. That completely changes the risk calculation. They're not just hoping for good rolls, they're changing what the rolls mean.
Exactly. They control the environment. They win by making sure the course itself favors them, kind of overriding the dice luck. It's intellectual dominance. Their colors reflect this. Arcane blue, mystic silver, ethereal violet.
Warrior, rogue, monk, wizard, power, precision, patience, prediction. It maps so well onto classic TCG archetypes, but feels really grounded in the golf theme. These are the big four, but you mentioned supporting classes too.
Yeah, just briefly, there are others like Ranger, focused on accuracy, hitting specific targets, and Bard, who deals with flow, rhythm effects, maybe card draw or tempo boosts. But those core four, they define the major strategic paths. Your knight choice really sets the tone. Okay, so we know the knight commands and their legion defines their style. Let's dig into how that command style plays out when things inevitably go wrong. We need to talk about the knight's strike roll.
Right, we said the knight rarely swings themselves, so this isn't their shot shape roll.
Correct. This roll happens after one of your dragons has already rolled poorly on its own strike roll and ended up in a hazard. The knight's strike roll then determines the consequence, the severity of that failure.
So it's about how the commander handles failure, their discipline or lack thereof.
Precisely. The roll usually doesn't affect the knight's own stats. Instead, it either pushes more risk onto the failed dragon, or it somehow shifts the GP tempo back to the knight, depending on their legion's philosophy. It measures command volatility.
Okay, makes sense.
And the sources give us two really great contrasting examples here. The Slice Fang Knight, representing more chaotic, maybe warrior or rogue style, versus the Iron Resolve Knight, showing that measured monk or wizard approach.
Let's start with Slice Fang. Sounds dangerous.
It is. High risk, high reward command. Their role pattern for dealing with a dragon in a hazard is pretty brutal. Let's see, rolls 1 to 3 are okay. The dragon gets recovered, maybe loses a bit of DG, like if it's 50, standard recovery.
Okay.
Roll of 4, it's a warning. Dragon goes deeper into the hazard, maybe rough becomes deep rough, loses more DG, maybe an echo to 100, getting worse.
Still recoverable though.
Yeah, roll of 5. Catastrophe. Dragon goes straight to water out of bounds. LB. It's off the board completely, though. You might be able to reshuffle it back into your deck later.
Oh.
Big tempo loss.
Ouch. Okay, what about a 6?
Roll a 6. This is the reckless disaster. The dragon goes to water OBB anyway, but then you have to make a second roll, 1d6. If the second roll is odd, a 1, 3, or a 5, the dragon gets hit with the OB seal.
OB seal. That sounds bad. The sources define it as permanent exile. What does that mean exactly?
It means exactly that. It's the ultimate penalty for reckless command. An OB seal dragon is removed from the game, period.
Not shuffled back, not returned to hand, gone forever for that match.
Gone forever. A single bad command roll sequence, a 6 followed by an odd number, can permanently delete your best dragon. It fits that gambling, aggressive style of warrior or rogue perfectly, high risk, potentially devastating consequence.
Wow, okay, that's intense. So how does the Iron Resolve Knight compare? That sounds much calmer.
Completely different philosophy. Measured, defensive, focused on discipline and sustain. Look at their roll pattern for a dragon and a hazard. Rolls 1 through 4 are basically fine. Dragon recovers, minimal DG loss, maybe only 20-25 DG, much gentler than Slice Fang.
Better odds of recovery?
Definitely. Roll a 5, so warning, dragon goes to the bunker, maybe. But the knight immediately restores plus 50 GP to their own pool.
Wait, they gain GP when the dragon messes up?
Yeah. And check out the 6. On a roll of 6, the discipline collapse. The dragon goes to the worst hazard spot, sure, but the knight immediately restores plus 100 GP.
That's amazing. A complete command failure on the roll chart actually makes the knights stronger in terms of their core resource.
Exactly. They convert that tactical fumble into strategic resilience. The monk or wizard knight sees the dragon's failure not as a disaster but as a lesson in discipline, which reinforces the commander's own resolve, represented by the GP gain.
So they sacrifice the unit's position, maybe tempo, to directly bolster their own endurance.
Right. It fundamentally changes how you view failure. With Iron Resolve, a dragon stumbling isn't just bad luck, it's a guaranteed top-up for your GP. You play a totally different risk game.
So thinking about this for the listener, choosing Slice Fang means you embrace the chaos, hoping your high-power plays work out, accepting you might lose pieces permanently. Choosing Iron Resolve means you prioritize survival above all, ensuring your 9,000 GP stays high, even if your dragons are constantly getting tripped up.
That's the core trade-off, absolutely. It's about how you budget risk based on your knight's inherent discipline. Now, to really understand the knight as the brain, we need to quickly look at the muscles of the dragons. They're the ones doing the hitting, the ones taking the risks out there in the lance zone.
Right, the lance zone, that's the area right in front of the teeing ground where the action happens, and it's got those golf club constraints, the YDS mechanic.
Exactly. The lance zone isn't just open space. It's structured into 8 slots, corresponding to club types from putter P all the way up to driver, D1W. And a dragon's printed YDS, its yardage stat. That locks it into place.
How so?
Well, say you have a big flaming dragon with 280 YDS printed on its card. It must go in the driver slot, or maybe the 1 wood slot, if that's how the board defines it. It can't sit in the petter slot.
Okay.
Conversely, a little tidewing dragon built for precision, maybe 75 YDS, that has to occupy one of the short club slots like putter or wedge. They can't pretend to be a driver.
Enforces the right tool for the job idea, keeps things thematic. What if something changes its YDS mid-game, like a relic effect you mentioned?
Ah, good question. That's where the constraint becomes tactically interesting. If a dragon is sitting in the driver slot, needs 280 plus YDS, let's say, and a wizard spell temporarily drops its YDS to 150.
Does it have to move?
No, it stays put. But here's the catch. It cannot strike. It's essentially benched in its slot until its YDS gets back into legal range for that slot.
So the knight can't command it to attack if its stats don't match its position.
Right. It's like having the wrong club for the lie. The knight knows better than to command a swing in that situation. It stops players from, abusing temporary buffs to make a putter hit like a driver. Maintains board integrity.
Got it. And when these dragons do swing under proper command, they have their own role, their own risk.
Correct. That's the dragon strike roll, the 1d6. It maps directly to golf shot shapes. 1 is perfect, straight down the middle. 6 is the worst, a shank.
And the danger zone.
Rolls 4, hook, 5 slice, and 6, shank. Those are the ones that usually sometimes automatically send the dragon into a hazard bunker, rough, maybe even water or OB, depending on the roll on the dragon. That's the core volatility the knight has to manage with their commands and follow-up rolls.
Okay, now let's loop back to something crucial you mentioned earlier that really highlights the knight's importance. Relics. Dragons can't use them directly.
Nope. And this is, I think, a really elegant piece of design. Relics, whether they're gear like special grips, swing techniques, course magic, caddy support, they cannot be attached to a dragon.
Yep.
They have to be attached to the knight on the teeing ground, or they exist in the dedicated relic zone, affecting the board from there.
So all the fancy gear, all the special training manuals, all the magical course warping items, they all flow through the knight.
Yes. The knight is the sole conduit for all that tactical support. Dragons are the raw power, the elemental force. They need the knight's equipped relics and strategic choices to get an edge, overcome hazards, or unlock special abilities.
That puts a huge emphasis on the knight's build and choices. They're not just commanding, they're equipping the entire operation.
Exactly. The armorer, the strategist, the mage, all rolled into one. It makes the knight choice even more critical, because a warrior knight might load up on aggressive gear relics, while a Wizard Knight focuses on tricky course or technique relics.
And this structure allows for a lot of variety in the dragons themselves, right? The different elemental clans.
Absolutely. The Knight needs diverse tools. Let's quickly touch on the 5 main clans. Flame Wings, fire, are tied to drivers. All about aggression, big HD, but often with risky trade-offs. They hit hard, but might hurt themselves or land near hazards. Perfect for warriors.
Makes sense. Burn bright, burn fast.
Stonebacks, earth are your irons. High DG, very resilient, often resistant to hazards. They're the defensive backbone loved by monks, built to last.
Tanks.
Pretty much. Tide Wings, water ice, are linked to putters and wedges. Precision, control, freezing tempo. They might force opponents to skip actions or mess with their white ES. Good for control strategies. Then Storm Scales, lightning, associated with hybrids. They're fast, unpredictable, focused on combos, and generating advantage quickly. Think chain lightning effects or drawing extra cards, high variance like by rogues and wizards maybe.
Quick and chaotic.
Finally, the really special ones. Aether Mains, cosmic. They wield the legendary clubs. These are your big, flashy, synergy-driven win conditions. Often need specific relics or board states to work, but can pull off game-winning moves. High risk, potentially reality-bending rewards.
Wow, so the knight picks a legion philosophy, then builds an army from these diverse dragon clans, equipping them via relics to execute that specific strategy. It's layers upon layers.
Exactly. It's a deep system.
No. So, just to kind of wrap up everything we've dug into here, the knight is really the heart of Tee Legion. They're that permanent avatar anchored in the team ground, the one carefully managing that critical 9,000 GP score. And their Legion identity, that sets the whole tone. It dictates the tempo, the resilience, how you handle risk via those command roles. They're the player's strategic mind made manifest on the board. Yeah, and I think the beauty of it, as you've laid out, is that clarity of roles. Knight's command. Relics enhance the command and provide tools. Dragons execute the strikes and face the immediate risks. That structure really lets you, the player embodying the knight, focus purely on the bigger picture, the strategy, the flow, managing risk, and protecting that all-important 9,000 GP potential. You're not bogged down in the individual swings, you're conducting the orchestra.
Well put. It separates the tactical execution from the overarching strategic direction. Makes for compelling decisions.
Okay, so let's leave the listener with something to chew on, a final provocative thought based on all this. We established that the Knight's 9,000 GP represents 900 yards, that perfect, ideal course potential. The Knight starts as the embodiment of perfection.
Right, the theoretical ideal state.
So if the goal is, in a sense, to maintain that perfection as long as possible while navigating the course's challenges, doesn't your choice of Legion Warrior, Rogue, Monk, Wizard become a statement about how you define perfection, or at least the acceptable path towards maintaining it?
Interesting way to frame it.
Like, does the warrior seek perfection by aggressively trying to reach the end, 0 enemy GP, fastest, accepting collateral damage? Does the monk find perfection in enduring indefinitely, never straying from that 9,000 baseline, even if victory takes longer? Does the rogue find it by bending the rules of the course itself? Or the wizard by predicting and controlling every variable?
Yeah, what risks are inherent in each path to that ideal state?
Yeah.
The warrior risks burning out, the monk risks being outpaced, the rogue risks catastrophic failure from their gambles, the wizard risks their intricate plans falling apart.
Exactly. So the question isn't just which knight you play, but what does your choice say about the kind of perfection you're striving for on the course, and what level of risk you're willing to embrace to achieve it? That feels like the deeper game Tee Legion is asking you to play.